Thanks for joining the channel here over at SubStar, the various other links to Grace, Randolph, different roles for different people. It's all this is kind of the friend-enemy distinction where there's no wrong think allowed if it's us doing the wrong think, but cliche passive aggressiveness from these whining pussies in the comments here is standard because they all use the same kind of cultural Marxist cliche language. So the hypocrisy of these people is absolutely nuts, where they can criticize movies, but if YouTubers do, that there's like 24 of those huge YouTubers, the nerdrotic types you talk about, Hollywood Phantom Menace type of thing. Well, those are just hateful, toxic clickbaiters. Toxic is one of their favorite modifying words. Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of clickbait, well, kind of welcome to YouTube. Admittedly, a lot of YouTube is clickbait. Like, why would that come as a surprise to you? It's like they have to get you to click on the videos. And some of it is, it's a lot of BS with that kind of stuff. And kind of more and more as YouTube seems to, I don't know, age into a different, transform into something more corporate. And so how is Grace's channel any different from any of those other type, like Heels versus Babyface and all those other type of, pop culture review channels who have a different opinion from someone like Grace Randolph, who's on the left? And those channels are either probably moderate. I think it'd be a stretch. They look at Nerdrotic, the Gary guy, and they think he's far right. I'm like, what's the color of the sky on their world? So we're different from SJWs, and we like different movies, and that concept is just inconceivable to them because they've been brainwashed their whole life. We don't like race swap movies, and I'm not speaking for those other YouTubers. I don't know where on the political spectrum they lie, but they're not far left wingers. And it's like these kind of themes where you've got gay couples with adopted interracial gay couples in terms of the Eternals or the Bolshevik found family. Again, another cliche that you see over and over again. That just doesn't appeal to us because, it's propaganda. It's not organic storytelling. And I say, when I say something like, I don't like, gay, trans, race swap, all this kind of stuff, they hear those buzzwords and they start to get triggered and they go, well, hold on a minute here. Look at the numbers on these movies. It's not just the right-wing Nazis are not supporting these movies. There's enough left-wing people in America to make any movie successful. So how come the left wing isn't going out and watching these movies? And they don't have an answer to that because the reality is they're not supporting those movies. And they go, oh, well, who's that girl? Sydney Sweeney made a movie and the right wing didn't go see it. I hope it was a very low budget movie, but it was a boxing movie or something. Nope, nobody wants to see a boxing movie whether you're about women, whether you're on the right or the left. Like, why would you think? I hope that was a ultra low budget movie because you have to know when you look at that that's not going to be who was that other one? God, that was made a long time ago with Clint Eastwood. That was a big hit. I forget the name of that thing. So we're just different from SJWs. And the problem is, I think normal right-wing people have just not expressed themselves openly for so long that their opinions are unknown to the left when we say we're not into this kind of, race mixing, trans, gay, whatever is like popular for the day. Some blue-haired nose ring type of thing, and that's kind of why 2016 was a surprise to them, because when that was rolling around, you were talking to people about the elections, and you could hear the people you're talking to were having an emotional meltdown. It was just inconceivable to them that anyone would vote for somebody with an R after their name, and so a lot of people just didn't. Said, oh yeah, I'll look at the ballot, I'll think about it later. And it's like people didn't feel comfortable coming out and saying, yeah, I'm probably going to vote for Trump because there's no other alternative. The alternative is just unpalatable to me. So there's kind of one of many political spectrums, and one end is the outgroup preference, filthy globalist, soon to be writing helicopter parasites, and the other is in-group preferences, nationalists, which really means ethno-nationalist, and that's not the left-wing straw man that when you start talking about in-group preferences of hating others, it's like that everything the left wing has is viewed through a Hollywood lens. And like, well, you look at them and go, Hollywood's fiction, right? You get that. It's all fiction, but their memories are confused with real historical events and with Hollywood and their perspective of things. And then you point out like what they're talking about historically came from some movie, and it's like, the plot of a Star Trek movie or something. Anyway, so I don't know why the left accepts every other group is allowed to have in-group preferences except for people of European descent. And for some reason, like all of America has been subjected to multi-generational globalist brainwashing since about World War II era, because the war propaganda movies were just absolutely insane. Even they were insane in a there was multifaceted propaganda going on with even one of the John Wayne movies. I remember it's so obvious, it stood out. And to be fair, even in the 40s when that movie came out, I forget that, I want to say The Longest Day or The Longest Yard or something. It was probably pretty obvious in the theaters. The thing is, it's been this multi-generational anti-family, anti-natal, anti-white type of, and especially anti-Christian type of brainwashing, but it was more effective on left-wing people, and for some reason they have out-group preferences. And it's probably an interesting psychological study, but it's not politically correct to do so. The thing is, we're not Marxists, and we think Marxist propaganda in TV, streaming, and comics and whatever is absolutely unwatchable or readable. Calling us labels doesn't mean anything to us, because we've seen your jeers don't affect us. We see what you've cheered for, and the left wing are the side that, well, they don't know what a woman is, or they mutilate children. In fact, sometimes they go so far as to sterilize children, and like all the other atrocities that they have been doing over the past several years. It's like, if you tell me a woman has a penis, I'm not going to take anything you say seriously. Your opinion doesn't mean anything. If when they're repeatedly asked what a man is, and they have to deflect from that answer and just have they try to come back with like clever one-liners and you realize they're really afraid to answer that question, or they don't know because they don't know what the politically correct answer is. It's like, we can't listen to anything you're saying because you're dangerous. You're not thinking for yourself. You're just saying, you're just going to give the correct answer of what the party is. How many fingers, Winston, is going to allow you to say. So, calling us labels is like, okay, great, knock yourself out. But like, those labels don't mean anything because they don't add anything. They're not probative and relevant because they don't add anything substantive to the argument itself. So, because we're different people, we have different worldviews. So many of the woke cancer the left claims to like, I almost said like, but they say they like these woke movies, and I would take my money. And then you look at the returns for the theaters for these kind of movies to go, so how come you guys didn't go see that movie? I can openly say Sydney Sweeney has got, two great assets. She's known for her milkers. And if she's in some boxing movie where she's going to play that down, nobody gives two shits about her. Who was that girl in Suicide Squad? The first one did pretty well because his chick is Margot Robbie. Is running around in shorts and a tank top. And it was, really stupid movie. It's a superhero movie or supervillain movie or what do they call those, like alternative heroes? I forget what they call those things. It's like that helped the movie a lot. Like TNA really helps the movie along. And then she's in Birds of Prey, and it's like they take the TNA away. So who's the movie for? Oh, well, women should go support the movie. Yeah, but they don't. So it's like they're kind of like building this foundation. They're building a structure on this delusional foundation that men are women, and they're not. I mean, this absurdity it's got to end eventually. So it's YouTubers, they the clickbait and a little bit of like fake outrage. Yeah, fair enough. But the thing is, it's exaggerated outrage, really. The only time it wasn't exaggerated outrage is that one guy had a channel who covered Batwoman for 3 years. And if you watch his, someone will know what that guy's channel's name is. If you watch his videos, you think he's exaggerating. You go, oh, it's just kind of hyperbolic. You're really pushing it, buddy. It's a little. And then you go watch Batwoman, you're like, oh, it's indescribably bad. That's how bad it is. The thing is, it's the movies really are horrible. You can go watch it yourself. It doesn't take but a minute to go sail the high seas. It's it's the same cliche-ridden storyline where it's a diverse group of rebels against the evil blonde people. And then there's a close-up, and it's like blue-eyed people. I think that was an Avatar. And the opening scene of that one of those Avatar movies where there's a guy in a wheelchair and they're in a bar, and it's like a giant blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy who's like beating up his girlfriend or something in a bar, and the guy in the wheelchair has to go get in a fight with him because it's like that's what you see in bars, is giant blonde-haired people just openly slapping women around. Because that's, you can go on Twitter and see those videos every day, fresh videos of, oh, it's not exactly that. Or what was that? What was that, one of the Witcher movies, or the Rings of Power, where there's a blonde-haired human in a bar, and the Afro elf is having some kind of issue with him, and the blonde-haired human calls him knife ears. Nice, almost an alliteration there. Amazon, you guys are as subtle as a tractor. So it's like the same, the same kind of good guys and bad guys all at the same time. The problem with this anti-blonde hair, blue-eyed type of hate is that's us, and we know how awesome we are. So why would we want to support this kind of stuff? It's not like you can't make us feel bad because we don't think we're awesome. We know we're awesome, or at least we know we're not these. We haven't done anything that deserves this kind of bizarre racist hatred. It seems like Hollywood's really got it out for people like us. Anyway, so Brie Larson and Chris Pratt, I think it's Chris Pratt, Chris Evans, and there's like a couple other guys. All seem to like, they all look alike. They're in some movie, which is a video game movie, so it's legitimately probably going to do $1 billion. And Grace Randolph had the balls to say, and she's very cute. If anyone could ruin it, she could. And she was referring to Brie Larson's earlier racist, sexist, and ageist comments that she made years ago, referring to the reviews of A Wrinkle in Time, which I got to admit I missed that one. I also missed the unicorn store. And Captain Marvel made $1 billion with a big but in that it was penultimate to the big Avenger finale, which was like almost a $400 million movie, and that did, probably over $2 billion, $3 billion, something ridiculous like this, because people thought, oh, it's the finale of the series. The Avengers is going to be over for a little while or something because it's the finale. And it turns out, no, we're going to keep making movies. But it's just that nobody goes to see the Marvel movies anymore. Anyway, people don't like Brie Larson, and now they know, well, she really does not like, she has an issue with men of European descent if they're 40 and over, which is just like her comments, like, I don't need a 40-year-old white guy. So substitute any other ethnicity in there. Jewish, Arab, Latin, Black, Chinese, Korean, and just imagine her saying that. It's like, oh, you're blacklisted in Hollywood, you're done forever. You wouldn't even be able to make porn. And it's like you see this kind of insane double standard, this kind of racial hatred these people have. So she's not she's not too popular. This Captain Marvel to The Marvels Super Diversity Edition, which was the sequel, came out and nobody watched it. It was a massive bomb. And to be fair, so was Madam Web, which Sina Sweeney in it, and because it's a chick flick. It's like four chicks are in the main protagonists, and how come women didn't go support that movie? Empowered women. It's because women aren't men. They don't like action adventure movies. They watch romance. I don't think that movie had any romance. So to be fair, the entire genre of this superhero action adventure movie is definitely on its way out. DC and Marvel, they've got phases of their timeline, and they're like plotting this thing out for the next 20 years or something ridiculous. It's like, yeah, it ended in 2018. It's time to just put it on the shelf for a few years. And then, like, all of Hollywood seems to be on the decline. But the left wing doesn't view movies as just entertainment. They have to be propaganda to them. And Larson is someone who has openly said this kind of racist comments, and the thing is that the non-white left loves her for that. They really don't think there's something wrong with that, and that's something that the white liberal, you really got to learn, or even the white MAGA normie who seems kind of like race blind, I guess, not paying attention to it. Like these people are telling you who they are. They really hate you. It's like the left wing are the racist the whole time. Yes, absolutely. And so Grace saw that switch happening, where if you self-flagellate and virtue signal, you'll be safe for a while. But as soon as you go off the narrative, their hatred for you comes out, because that's how they have always felt. And Dinesh D'Souza had a meltdown a couple days ago when his race was criticized for the Pooh Festival over in India, and his mask came off. And Ben Shapiro had a similar mask off. I mean, Ben Shapiro is over the past like 10 or 15 years has had a few of these kind of mask off moments, which, to be fair, his channel's been losing followers lately, but it's still a massive channel. So the left-wing non-white Twitter SJWs turned on Grace, and they call her a Nazi for saying that Brie Larson is going to hurt the movie, because Brie Larson to them is an activist. She's not an actor. But it's a reasonable thing to say based on Larson's hateful prior comments. The audience doesn't like her, and during the Woofloo, she tried to rehab her reputation by starting a fitness YouTube channel so that she could show her milkers. And, they're fantastic, and it did get my attention. But her ability to hurt the movie doesn't matter, because she's an activist to them. And the right and the left have entirely different values and worldviews. They don't think she did anything wrong with her comments, racist, misinterest, and ageist, because that type of bigotry doesn't enter their perception. That's how far they are into dehumanizing, degrading, marginalizing, and oppressing people of European descent, to not even see them as humans who are worthy of protection from this sort of racism. So to them, it just doesn't have any connection to people rejecting her movies, which, to be fair, when movies bomb, the left just isn't seeing them as well. And then, every once in a while you get like a Minecraft movie, which is horribly stupid. And it does $1 billion, which is probably what this movie is. There's like these kind of movies where people turn off their brains, and it's got a connection to millennials. Is this Super Mario Bros? Is kind of Gen X is probably a little too old for this, but millennials maybe. So the left wing doesn't allow people to talk without viewing everything through a cultural Marxist lens. Movies aren't good or bad to them. They're propaganda. And the woke actors outside activism is what makes them a good actor. That's why they keep, if you've been reading these comments, they keep using the word toxic a lot. They just repeat these buzzwords. And for most of these people, you could stop and start breaking down, like cross-examining their comments and their worldview, and ask them to define these words and why do they think what they're saying they think. And they're not thinking, they're just parroting. They're just parroting things to get some attention from Grace Randolph, who's a big YouTuber with 1 million followers, and some attention from other people on their side to give them a pat on the back for saying the right thing. The thing is, it's all without any thought that goes into it. There's no open discussion. It's just a Pavlovian stimulus response. When you say something that goes against their multi-generational lifetime of brainwashing, immediate ad hominem, immediate deflection, some sort of logical fallacy. Nothing goes to the substantive argument. It's just an emotional response, because even if they're adults, they kind of still have childlike brains. So the point is that Randolph is correct that the perception of Larson is the bottom line. Like perceptions of movies is what matters. Judging books by its covers. There's movies that have been bombing lately, and the perception I saw the movies. I admittedly sailed the high seas to go see them, but the perception of the movies isn't always on point. Like with the Madam Web with Sydney Sweeney, or even the Marvels wasn't. That was a huge bomb. That was like a $300 million loss, which is a big way to wipe out the profit on Captain Marvel. But it wasn't that bad. Not enough to lose that kind of money. So the perception ultimately is the only thing that matters. That movie should never been made. That should have been like a $50 million movie, but that would have been an admission by Disney that they knew that Brie Larson was plutonium, which she is. So they go, oh, we'll just lose the money instead, because Disney does have that kind of money. Anyway, this is kind of a long video, I know, for just like Grace Randolph, but it's this double standard that she's allowed to criticize movies, and if Nerdrotic or Heels or Clownfish or all those other YouTubers has the audacity to commit wrongthink, well, they're just toxic and hateful. Hey, you don't have to watch your channels. Like nobody's forcing you to watch YouTube. That's the bizarre thing. And yet these kids, this is the Phantom Menace side of this area of YouTube. It's kind of a whole fascinating subculture. I got into it like 10 years ago. And Comicsgate's the other part of it. But the thing is, these kids will screen record these videos, download these videos, they'll take notes, and they'll talk about it. And all the YouTubers, even small channels like this, are getting monetized to some extent. You're making some money with videos, and those big channels are making tons of money. But these kids who spend hours a week going after them are not making any money. It's just for dopamine and serotonin to be part of this kind of virtue signaling club. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks everyone over at SubScribeStar and Buy Me a Coffee, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.